Hey, everybody, welcome to Secure the Seat Live. We're so excited that you're here. My name is Minda Hartz, and I'm your host. You could be anywhere on the internet right now, and you're here with us. So happy that you're here. My apologies that we're running a little bit late. I am doing Secure the Seat Live from Hawaii. I know you feel very sorry for me. So it is 6:06 here, and I wanted to make sure that we still got our time together and that we talk. So please, comment in the chat like you normally do. If this is your first time with us today, welcome. If you've been rocking with us every Monday at noon, welcome back. You know, you're part of the squad. I did not bring my tambourine today, and I know Tamara is going to have plenty of tambourine moments, and we're going to have to do the proverbial moment for us. But I'm so excited to bring you we've not met, but I feel like she's a soul sister. Tamara Winfrey-Harris. She is the author of this amazing book called Dear Black Girl. And we're going to drop it in the chat. So make sure you get it, but also make sure you get it for someone in your life, because today we're going to talk about why it's so important to support our Black girls. If you've been watching the news, you've seen just terrible things happening in the Black community to Black girls. And so it's so important that we are there to hear them out, to support them. And even as, you know, Black and brown people, we can do that for our girls. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring Tamara to the stage. Welcome to Secure the Seat.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Happy that you're here. I'm just so excited for us to talk. Tamara, tell everybody a little bit more about you who may not be familiar with your work.
Sure. I am a woman with a lot of hats. I am a writer who specializes in race and gender and how they intersect with politics and pop culture and current events. My work has appeared places like the New York Times, the Atlantic, and other outlets. My first book, The Sisters Are All Right, Changing the Broken Narrative of Black Women in America, was released in 2015. And you shared about my latest book, Dear Black Girl, which includes a wonderful contribution from Minda. I am also the Vice President of Community Leadership and Effective Philanthropy at Central Indiana Community Foundation, and as of last November, a certified yoga teacher.
You are a woman of many hats. I
Renaissance woman.
Why not? I love this. I love it. Tamara, before we jump into our questions, I already see people popping up in the chat. Make sure you ping someone. Make sure you share our conversation, because it's all hands on deck. Success is not a solo sport. It takes all of us to protect our Black girls. But I would love for you to read just a little bit so that people, just to set the tone, set the vibe, so that people know why it's important. And then Mike's going to drop that link so people can get that in the cart.
All right. I am going to share a little from the epilogue, which is called Pick Up Your Oyster Knife. And I hope everyone gets that Zora Neale Hurston reference. And it says, I love you, Black girl. I love the Black girls in Afro puffs and the Black girls in bundles of Remy. I love the daddy's girls and the fatherless ones. I love the little girls who make straight A's and the ones who skip school. I love the hood girls and the suburban girls and the country girls too. I love the quiet girls and the loud girls, the lip-smacking, smart-talking ones. I love the saved girls and the heathens. I love the girls who stay in sweatshirts and J's and the ones in the tight Fashion Nova fits. I love the happy girls and the anxious girls and the girls battling depression. I love the trans girls living defiantly. I love the girls in the library and the ones on the basketball court. I love the virgins and the young mamas. I love the girly girls and butch girls. I love the girls who fight. I love the girls who love boys and the girls who love girls and the girls who love both or neither. I love you, Black girl, unconditionally, and whether you are 15 or 50. You hear me today? I love you whether you look or act like they say you should. You are not wrong. And when you are wrong, I love you with all your flaws. No matter what choices and mistakes you have made, no matter where you live, no matter what you look like, no matter what thing has happened to you. And the greatest thing you can learn is to love yourself unconditionally too. May be the hardest thing you have to learn. And I hope the letters in this book show you how. One other thing, Black girl, you must learn to love other Black women and girls. Love us whether we look or act like they say we should. We are not wrong. And when we are wrong, love us with all our flaws. No matter what choices and mistakes we have made, no matter where we live, no matter what we look like, no matter what thing has happened to us. Now, this doesn't mean you have to become a target for another Black girl's pain or anger or trauma. It doesn't mean you have to silence yourself in the face of Black women. It means you must give your sisters grace and understanding, the benefit of the doubt. So few people give us that. We owe it to each other. We have to acknowledge each other's humanity, even maybe especially when we are walking away. I hope the letters in this book show you how to do that too, because we are sisters, Black girl. We have to take care of ourselves and each other. You are me, I am you, and we are all right.
Whew, that was an entire tambourine moment. Please put Dear Black girl, there's so much in that. That was so much goodness, Tamara. Talk to us about, for those who haven't got the book, I know that they will be getting it. They're putting it in their cart right now. Go ahead and put that in. Get a couple copies and put it out there for Black girls that need to be doing some summer reading. This is a perfect read. Before we jump into my first question, I want to share something with you because it happened last week. I got an email from, I would say a friend, and we've met one time, but you know how you just have these connections.
Yeah,
right? And she sent me an email and she said, Minda, I just got an email from another friend, and there's this Black girl in the Midwest. She's 13 years old. She's having a very tough time. She's one of the only Black girls in this very small, predominantly white town. She's having a real tough time being bullied and also thinking about, does her life matter, and some of those things. They're asking for people in our community to send her a letter, send her a note, just letting her know that she's going to be okay. And she's like, can you send the memo? I know it might be a little advanced, but, just so she gets something from you. And I said, I'll do better than that. I'll send the memo, and I have this new book I'm going to send her. And it was just, I'm so excited. It should be arriving to this young lady's house this week. And so thank you, Tamara, for allowing me to be able to share with a Black girl that this was written for. And that's what I want to ask you right now. How did it come to be? How did we get to Dear Black Girl?
So there's a broader story, and then there's the practical story. The broader story is, I noticed when I was touring for The Sisters Are All Right, that sometimes I would be in these gatherings of Black women, and we'd be talking about the stereotypes that we deal with, and we all rejected them. That's not me, that's not Black women. But when talk came to younger women and Black girls, somehow the language to a lot of those stereotypes started creeping in. I remember the exact moment that made it click for me is an elder was like, I don't know about these young women. They're awfully free with their bodies. I guess it's some sort of liberation. And there was just this feeling of disgust, and it made me wonder, how are our younger women feeling, and how do they feel about how we interact with them? And then practically, I was doing an intergenerational workshop with two dear friends. There were 12 Black girls participating. And I just got the idea, wouldn't it be neat if they could leave with a letter from a Black woman? And I put out a call kind of haphazardly on Facebook, asking, would anyone submit letters? And Black women showed up and showed out like we do. And I got more than 50 from around the world, actually. And I read the first one, and it was like, this has to be a movement.
And it is. And it is. I'm curious. So after the letter, you got it, but how did it become a book? Because you had these letters, but then now you have it in a publication format. I'm just curious how we got to that point, because I think it's so beautiful. All of the letters inside the book, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that and kind of the there's work letters, there's sexuality letters, there's a lot of different letters, but I would love for you to share a little bit more about that with the group today.
So I started thinking about how can I get some of these letters. I handed out individual letters to Black girls, but gosh, I kept reading these letters and going like, this needs to be read by not one Black girl, but hundreds, thousands of Black girls. And so I started thinking about this needs to be my next book. And when I put together the book, I wanted it to include inspiration and advice. So some general inspiration advice, but then I wanted it to get at a lot of specific areas, issues that Black girls deal with, our joy, our specific, unique joy. And I wanted Black girls to see themselves in the book and all the ways they show up in the world. So then I had to proactively reach out to women to submit letters, because it was important to me that there was a trans woman who wrote in the book. It was important to me that a woman could write about sexual assault, because we know 60% of Black girls will experience that before they're 18. I wanted biracial Black women to talk, because that's a unique identity. So I started soliciting specific letters so that I could help address issues that would be important to Black girls.
I love it. I see all of you showing love, saying I'm purchased the book. I'm getting it right now. I love it. Again, Dear Black Girl, we're going to drop that link in for those just joining us. We're talking to Tamara Winfrey-Harris, the author of Dear Black Girl, amongst amazing other things. And now that I've learned yoga teacher too. But I love this. And I had the pleasure, the honor, the privilege of being able to write a letter inside the book about work and how we show up. And I'm just so glad to be a part of it. If you have any questions for Tamara, please start dropping them in the chat so that we can get to some of those. Otherwise, I'm going to ask all my questions, and then I don't want to be selfish. I want to make sure I ask the questions. But the other question, why people are dropping those in the chat, what has been the response from some of the Black girls, the young Black girls that have started reading your book?
So I've gotten more response from Black women. I feel like Black girls are getting the book through Black women, which is awesome, because I wanted it to strengthen our relationships with each other. I just got last week a beautiful letter from a counselor in Florida who had been working with a Black girl who was suffering from some traumas that actually that women write about in the book. And, had started missing school, her grades had dropped. And so the counselor started working through the book with her, reading and asking questions and having conversations. And she said she is seeing a marked change. And that made me feel so, so, so happy, because that's what I hoped this book would be. I think very often we approach girls by telling them what they should and should not be doing, cautioning them, telling them to shrink. And I think if we can approach them with vulnerability and love, they can really blossom.
I absolutely agree with you. I recently had an opportunity to talk with a 21-year-old Black girl, and she was telling me that, your generation is very judgmental, those sorts of things. And I said, you know what? That is true. I said, but what I wanted you to know is that I actually, you all inspire me, because you live so authentically. You're not waiting for change. You're making it happen, so there's so much we can take. And like you said, now your book allows us to have a dialogue about some of these things. And so that's so important. We have a question here from someone in the audience, and they said, Tamara, so excited to purchase your new book. Thank you. What have adults been saying to you about some of the topics that I'm paraphrasing, that you're covering in the book?
So, most Black women that I've talked to have said the book is cathartic for them too, because I still have little Black girl Tammy inside of me. And so they have found it cathartic. I know that the book touches on a lot of topics that, some groups for Black girls that are more centered around respectability will find difficult. But I also wanted this book to be for who Black girls are, not who we wish they were or society wants them to be. This is the reality of Black girls' lives. And if there are Black girls experiencing these things, then we need to talk about it. I would also like to say, for all you generous and wonderful supportive people who have said you are going to buy my book, if you reach out to me and tell me that Secure the Seat sent you, I will send you a signed book plate so you can have a signed book.
Look at that generosity. Make sure that you reach out. We'll drop all of the links to connect with Tamara in there so that you can get your book plate. Make sure you do that because you never know. Once you read it, you might pass it on to another, and it'll be pretty rad if a young Black girl opens it up and sees the author's name in there. So that's really awesome. The last question that I have for you, Tamara, is what advice would you give adults listening today on how to be supportive and listen to Black girls so they feel supported? I mean, you've touched a little bit about it, but I think, like you said, some of us come from the old school, don't talk about some of these things. And then we wonder why we're finding out about what they're involved in after the fact because we didn't have these conversations. So would love to pass the mic to you.
I'm feeling like more and more the best thing we can do is deal with our own stuff and start decolonizing our minds, especially as it relates to stereotypes of Black femmes, Black women, and Black girls. So you need to think about what it is you believe about us and why you believe that about us, and start deconstructing some of those things so we don't continue to pass them forward to other generations. And I think the other thing is just to truly listen. Very often we say we're listening, we're not really listening. We're listening to what we say so we can then tell girls why they're wrong about what they just said. So, try to listen and listen for understanding. And actually, if you visit my website, tamarawinfreyharris.com, there's a reader experience kit that includes some questions to help you dig deeper into some of these issues with girls, and also some hints that came from an educator and a psychologist on how to have good intergenerational conversation.
I love this. Mike, if you could please drop that link so that everybody can have it. Make sure you pass this along if you have access to schools, programming for Black girls, girls of color, all girls. I feel like if you're consider yourself an ally or what I call a success partner, you should be reading this book with your kids so that they know how to show up and chat and engage with other Black girls in their community, because maybe some of us wouldn't feel bullied. Maybe we'd feel seen by our classmates if we had some of this content. And so make sure you get your Black girl. One question that we have here in the chat, though, is have you heard anything from white parents? I did hear on the book.
I have. Well, you know what? I have heard from some who have said that there are some universals to girlhood and just humanity, and that they have gained from they have learned about Black girls, but they have also gained from that. And that's fine. In my work, I center Black women and girls, and I will continue to center Black women and girls, but I think other people can learn from it too. I always point back to the literary canon that we had to read in high school, and we were supposed to take things from all these dead white men. So if you can take something from Moby Dick, then I think if I had to take something from Moby Dick, then I think white parents can take something from Dear Black Girl.
Absolutely. I think about all the books I've read when I was in my formative years, and I'm just like, yeah, if we could take it from Where the Red Fern Grows and all these books.
And frankly, I think the memo and Dear Black Girl are far more fun than Where the Red Fern Grows in Moby Dick.
Maybe I'm dating myself. I'm dating myself that was the book that my white teachers had us reading in class. So yes. So make sure you get way funner. I mean, and to your point, Tamara, I was reading more of the letters on the plane on the way here to Hawaii and revisiting some of those. And these are some of the letters, all of them were ones I wish I would have had at 14. Wish I would have had it. Wish I had. Glad I have at my age right now. It reminds me, that I matter and that I feel seen. I love this so much. One other question that we'll take here before we jump into our bonus round is, I love your concept. Do you support other authors? I am a new Christian author.
I have, if you hit me up, I get asked this so many times that I compiled a list of, so you want to be a nonfiction author, with some tips. And I also recently, I just wrote an article for Women Writers, Women's Books that you can find if you go to that website, Dear Black Women Writers, with some hints for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So one of the things that I ask all of my guests, Tamara, is I am a lover of grits and rap lyrics. I can't get enough of them. Like, I'm here sitting in my hotel room and Drake is in my head because I'm thinking of the album Views. I have a great view right now. And, but I have to ask before I ask your rap lyric, are you a grits woman? Do you like grits?
Yeah.
Now, I'm scared to ask, how do you like your grits?
Not with sugar in them.
Okay.
If that's what you're implying, right? I like
I had a feeling,
cheese, savory. Sometimes I'll cook them with a little bit of chicken broth. Zhuzh them a little bit. Yeah,
that's a zhuzh. I haven't tried making my grits that way. I'm gonna follow up on that one. But I'm glad. So I'm glad you're a grits girl and you love them with salt. And because we're in the theme of Dear Black Girl, I guess we love Black girls who like sugar in their grits too.
We like them, but we're gonna try to guide them.
Yes, we're gonna educate them on how to have better grits. But what is your favorite rap lyric and why?
Okay, the song that gets me hype, it's like my Rocky anthem, is Battle Cry by Angel Hayes. Like, I listen to that on the way to work and then I'm like, ooh, I'm just ready to take on anything. And there's like this last bit where she's like, so now you're telling me, go Hayes, they can't stop you. Heavyweight flow, if they can't lift you, then they can't drop you. The pinnacle, if they can't reach you, then they can't top you. Man, they can't do anything that you're about to. And I'm like, yes, I'm about to kill it. I love it.
I love it. That's a great lyric. And if you need something to get you through this work week, then you make sure that you take a listen to that song as well. Battle Cry.
We want to run up some stairs and yeah.
Eye of the tiger. The last question I wanted to ask you, everybody watching is a leader. You don't have to have a title to be a leader. What's one piece of advice you would leave everyone to make the workplace better than they found it?
One question I always like to ask when I'm interviewing for a new job of whoever my supervisor or boss is going to be is, what keeps you up at night? That I can help solve. And so I come into any situation thinking what that means. What can I do to fix what is a systemic problem in this role? And so I advise everyone to do that because it gives you a window into sort of the big picture stuff that your boss, if you have one, is dealing with.
Great advice.
That works at every level. It works if you're a vice president. It works if you're new.
Absolutely. I hope you took that gem down so that you can make the workplace better than you found it. Tamara, it's such a pleasure having you. Any final thoughts for our folks going into the rest of the work week that you'd like to leave them with?
Just be great and also rest. That is so important right now. It is equally as important as achieving things. So, do your thing, but also take some time to rest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Please rest. Listen, thank you everybody for joining us. We'll drop the link inside of the chat. Make sure you connect with Tamara. Make sure you purchase the book. Make sure you purchase a couple books, because I'm sure you have some nieces, some play cousins, all kind of folks, even for yourself that needs to read Dear Black Girl. Have a great week and keep securing your seat. We'll see you next Monday at noon.